Today, we're diving into the 2020 Strategic Management Journal paper, Ownership Competence.
The whole argument in this paper really hinges on a simple yet profound idea. Being an owner isn't just about having rights, it's a skill. And frankly, some people are just better at it than others. Now, to really get what this paper is doing, we first have to understand the scholarly conversation it's stepping into. What are the dominant ideas about ownership that it's challenging? Well, the authors point out that for a long time, we've mostly thought about ownership through a few key lenses. There's agency theory, which is all about the classic tension between owners and managers. There's incomplete contracting theory, which asks who gets to call the shots when a contract doesn't cover everything. And then there's property rights economics, focusing on the freedom to use and sell your assets. And if you look at all of these established views, there's a really strong common thread. It's all about incentives. The core assumption has been, if you just get the ownership structure right, you'll motivate people to do the right things, and voila, value gets created.
But here's the twist. This is where the authors say, wait a minute. That traditional view, the one focused on incentives, it has a massive blind spot. It basically assumes that all owners are the same, that anyone with the right motivation would make the same smart choices. It totally misses the fact that owners have wildly different levels of actual skill, or as the paper calls it, competence.
So to fill this gap, the paper introduces a brand new organizing framework, and it's all built around this idea of ownership competence. So what exactly is ownership competence? Well, the definition is beautifully simple. It's the skill with which you use your ownership rights as a tool to create economic value. See the shift? We're moving from asking, are they motivated, to, are they any good at this? Now, this framework isn't just pulled out of thin air. It's grounded in three absolutely fundamental property rights from economic theory. You have the right to use a resource, the right to keep the returns from it, to appropriate them, and the right to sell or transfer those rights to someone else. Okay, this is where it gets really practical. The authors take those three basic rights and use them to build out three distinct and, I think, really insightful dimensions of ownership competence. First off, we have matching competence. This one is tied to the right to use. It's really about knowing what to own. It's the skill to look at a bunch of different resources and see how they could be combined in a valuable way, maybe a way no one's seen before. Second is governance competence. This connects to the right to appropriate returns. This is all about knowing how to own your resources. It's the ability to design the right organization, pick the right managers, and create the right incentives to get the most value out of everything you've assembled. And third, there's timing competence, which, you guessed it, comes from the right to transfer. This answers the question of when to own. It's the skill of knowing the perfect moment to buy, when to sell, and, critically, recognizing when someone else could actually create more value with your assets than you can. So you can see this beautiful, logical flow the framework creates. Each basic property right gives rise to a specific ownership competence, and that competence helps an owner answer a fundamental strategic question. It's a really clean and powerful way to think about the owner's job. So we've got these three flavors of competence, but the paper makes a really important point. Their impact isn't always the same. It changes depending on the context. First, let's talk about ownership concentration. The paper suggests that having a concentrated owner isn't automatically good or bad. Instead, think of it like a volume knob for competence. If you have a highly skilled owner, concentration lets them turn up the volume on their positive impact. But if the owner is unskilled, well, it also amplifies the damage they can do. The importance of each skill also changes as a company evolves. It makes a ton of sense, right? In the startup phase, matching competence is everything. You're just trying to assemble the right pieces. As you grow, governance becomes king because you have to delegate. And once you're a mature firm, timing becomes crucial for knowing what to sell off and what new things to buy. And then there's the world outside the firm. The paper argues that when things get turbulent and uncertain, all three of these skills become even more valuable. It's harder to see the right resource combinations, it's tougher to monitor performance, and being able to make smart moves with timing and flexibility is an absolute game changer. Okay, so let's pull all these threads together. The paper uses this framework to build a new theory of value and to really think about what it all means for strategy. This brings us to the absolute core argument of the paper. It's this: the real secret sauce to creating value is uniting ownership with competence. The authors argue that avoiding the problems that come from separating ownership from competence might actually be more important than solving the classic problem of separating ownership from management.
Thinking this way leads to some really fresh predictions. For one, incompetent owners don't need bad intentions to destroy value. Bad judgment is enough. It also suggests something fascinating. Good managers will get fed up and leave companies with incompetent owners, creating a brain drain where you need talent the most.
This theory also gives us a completely new lens for looking at things like mergers and acquisitions. We tend to think of the market for corporate control as a way to replace bad managers, but this paper reframes it. It's actually a market for sorting assets to their most competent owners. The focus shifts from the agent up to the skill of the principal.
Naturally, the paper wraps up by pointing the way forward. It lays out a clear research agenda for others to pick up, like empirically testing how these 3 competencies actually affect performance, and exploring where this competence even comes from in the first place. Is it just experience or something else?
And ultimately, the framework in this paper leaves us with a pretty huge and maybe even uncomfortable question. If skill, not just motivation, not just having skin in the game, is the real key to creating value through ownership, then it forces us to ask, how should we be choosing the owners for our most important institutions?